Welcome back to the Artful Wellness series. My name is Alexandra Perry. I'm the clinical director here at Addiction Rehab Toronto. We are here today for our third podcast, which is so exciting. We've had some amazing feedback over the past couple of weeks on the recent topics, and we just want to thank everyone out there for listening and getting engaged and being willing to learn a little bit more about mental health and addiction. So let's get started. Today, our special guest is our wonderful clinical director at our sober living facility, and his name is Ignazio, or more beloved name is Iggy.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome. So today the topic is sober living. Before we jump into it, though, I thought that maybe it would be good for our audience just to get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
And what your role is here at ART or Sober Living, and talk about why you've joined the field.
Well, like you said, I'm the clinical director over at Sober Living. Sober Living is a facility. It's the final phase 3, as we call it. Once the client has gone through their treatment, either their 30, 45, 60, or 90-day program, some people aren't ready to go home. They still need a little more work with developing coping skills and setting boundaries and getting a treatment plan in place. And that's where we kind of fill that gap. They come to us, and hopefully we give them the tools that they need to reintegrate back into society.
Okay.
Why did I get in the field? Somebody was there for me, and I'm paying it forward. I truly believe in order to keep recovery and sobriety, you got to give it away. Like I said, somebody was there for me when I came in broken, and they showed me the tools I needed to practice in my life in order to be successful in recovery. And with one bump in the road, as I call it, I never looked back, and I took that advice to heart, and now I pass it on, and that's why I love helping others. That's my goal today is to put a notch in this disease that kills so many of us, and if I can make a difference, I've done my job. Yeah.
So you're in recovery yourself?
Absolutely. I came to recovery in 1993. We're in 2019. By the grace of God, I've only had one relapse, which lasted about a year, but it almost killed me. And that's where my motivation became more personal. I got angry at the disease. I stay angry at the disease, and that helps me focus on helping others and what they need to do to be successful, so they don't become a statistic. They become on the good part of the statistics, the ones that are successful.
Yeah.
And you can be, definitely.
And giving back, is that a big part of your own recovery?
Absolutely. That's the number one golden rule. I have to give back. If I don't, I lose my recovery. I don't take chances. I just, like I said, somebody showed me the way, and I learned different coping skills than what I was used to. Obviously, my way wasn't working because it kept me out there sick for a long time and cost me a lot in my life. But today, with those simple changes that I made, today I have everything that I want. I have happiness. I have my family. The things I always lacked, I felt that I lacked, are now real and very much a part of me today. And I don't ever want to lose that. So in order to keep it, I have to give it away, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. In our previous podcast, it's been a common theme about lived experience. With the first one we had with Jim McKenney, we were talking about the importance of...
Jimmy.
Yeah.
My mentor.
Yeah. Amazing man. And, he and I were discussing, as I said, just, the special, I guess, bond you can have when you're in recovery yourself and working with those that are in the beginning of their recovery, which is why it's so amazing that you run the Sober Living House, because you understand it better than anyone for these guys, especially early recovery.
I think coming from where they're coming from, it brings that barrier down. They don't have to feel like they're being threatened in any way, or they're comfortable with me. I have the iron fist with the silk glove approach. I'm tough because I'm passionate about recovery. Tough's maybe not the right word to use, but I'm direct. I don't pull punches. I tell them how it is, and if they don't make certain changes, there's a good chance that bad things will happen in their if they don't make those changes. And I'm here to show them that if a guy like me can make those changes, anybody can.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that. And if you knew me back then, you'd understand why I say that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. We thought that this would be an important topic to talk about because we recently were invited on to 640 News. And when I was speaking with the host there, we were addressing Wendy Williams being brave enough to come forward and say that she was living in a sober living house. And then as a result of that, we kind of realized, hey, maybe everyone doesn't really know what sober living is, why it's important, and what's involved in it. So maybe we can start the conversation just at what the difference is between treatment and sober living.
Again, sober living is a stage in their treatment plan and in their new venture, recovery. It helps them reintegrate back into society. As I said, the sober house that I run is men. Some families aren't ready to have their loved one come home.
Right.
There's still whatever issues there may be that need to be addressed. And what I find with addicts and alcoholics is they lose, I guess the addiction takes away their perception of life. So I guess the most important thing that we do at Sober Living is give them a new view of life, a positive view, that it's not that hard. A lot of these guys are afraid to go out there because they're so used to being high or drunk and numbing themselves and not having to look at reality. Now you bring them into recovery, and reality's reality, and it's very much real. They don't know how to handle it. And sending them home too early, they're in a bubble when they're in treatment. They're protected. We love them. We love them back to health, and we give them the tools that they need. But now they have to put them into practice, and that's a whole different animal, however you want to put it. So what we do is we help them put those new coping skills that they've learned in treatment to practice. We introduce the 12 steps to them,
Okay.
Which I find are probably, for this gentleman, for this alcoholic, was a lifesaver. The 12 steps gave me a whole different outlook on life. It gave me the opportunity to get to know Iggy, who Iggy was. And I was just, I wasn't a bad person. I was a sick person trying desperately to get better, and my way wasn't working. The 12 steps gave me the opportunity to get better and stay better, just by doing a few simple things and changing geographically where I used to hang around. I don't go back. Friends I used to have, I had to change. I had to change everything. And I guess at Sober Living, we introduce different ways of making those changes where it's not going to be overwhelming to them. Yeah. And they kind of ease into the real world, and it seems to be working. I mean, I'd be lying if I said everybody is successful, but our numbers are outstanding. I have a perfect sober house right now, which is awesome, and I'm very proud of my guys. They're putting to practice what we're teaching them. and it makes it very rewarding when you see that.
Yeah. So I want to go back to just a couple of things because, one thing I want to talk about is the programming that we have over in Sober Living. Not so much just, to kind of show how great our program is, but more so people understand what to look for if they're out in the world themselves and looking for a sober living house. So just going back to the change that you were referring to, I agree, Iggy, sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times people come into treatment for 30 days, right? And Jim McKenney was addressing this too, if you factor in a week of detox plus a week of, getting acclimatized to the house, you're really dealing with only 14 days or so.
Not enough.
Yeah, of the actual engagement of programming. And they say behavior changes, after 21 days. They say that's how long it takes to change behavior. So I think sober living is a great option for anyone out there who needs a little bit more time. I always say to clients the phrase, if it takes 3 days to walk through a forest, it takes 3 days to walk back out. And that's not to say, if you've been using for 25 years, it's going to take 25 years to get sober. But it's more just trying to emphasize the fact that it takes time and it's
sure
not
does.
a 30-day fix. No. And, a result of substance use, as we call them, consequences, people lose homes and their family and their job, and there's debt and there's health issues. So they may feel strong and ready and willing to say goodbye to addiction, but they're still left with dealing with the consequences. And so I think sober living really helps have the support still in place as we're dealing with the struggles of the consequences.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's part of the house, which, I think is another key point in sober living, is still having someone there who's in your corner as a counselor, who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to check in with you when, let's say, you need to go out and talk to your mom or dad that you haven't seen in 3 weeks and make all these amends, and then also go to the bank and realize you're $10,000 in debt. Coming home, you're not going to feel so great.
No.
Right? No. So I don't know if you want to speak on that type of support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the part of life that becomes overwhelming when 100%. They go home and they realize the damage that has been that they're left with, and they've got to deal with it. So what we do is just to give you a little idea of how we go about reintegrating them back into society, and we get them up. We develop a structure, a routine for them, and that routine is as simple as waking up every morning at 8 o'clock and getting them ready for the day. We start the day off with a reflection, which gets them in a calm, positive mode to take on the day's challenges that are going to come forward. And we let them know that, like you said, because you were in addiction for 25 years, it's not going to take 25 years to get better. Some quicker than others, but it does happen with time, and they do need time. So I think what we try to implement is that they don't have to fix themselves in one day. It's going to take time, so we put a plan together for them. Some might need a financial plan. So we look at, what are they in debt? What do they need to do to get out of debt? Some is, getting a job. We help them with the resources there. Vocational skills is something we focus on. Networking is big at the Sober House. I know a lot of people in business for themselves, and they help people that are new to recovery to give them that second chance at life. So we get them believing in themselves by trying something different. Maybe they were a barista for 25 years, and now they come to look that they never really liked it, that they have a talent other than that. So we get them to look at what their strong points are. We have different, how can I put it, different references that we send them to. Oasis, if I may say that, it does exactly that. We'll send our client to Liam, and Liam will sit down with them and find their strong points and what they might be good at. And then it's up to the client to pursue that, or pursue what it is that they really want to do. And then we just give them the tools to make that dream come true.
Yeah. So just going off that too, I think it's another important reason why we remain so client-centered, because I think recently just, always wanting to improve our program, especially with accreditation and being an accredited facility, part of holding those standards is making sure that we're constantly improving our organization. And, recently, Iggy, we've been really trying to focus on how we can keep our guys over in sober living engaged, sober, motivated, all those kinds of things. And that can look really radically different from one individual to the next. Some guys will say, listen, they feel very safe here. They've completed treatment at A.R.T. for a long period of time. We need to slow down the reintegration process, maybe start working 2 or 3 days a week while still having to attend some of the psychoeducational groups. A lot of the time too, the guys, will keep back, at our anger management program, or the relapse program, once a week, so that they're, again, staying engaged and not taking too big of steps while forgetting their recovery.
With the addict that's new to recovery, they become gung-ho and everything. Like they want to fix everything overnight. They want to go back to work. And like you said, some individuals aren't ready to go back to work, and we have to show them why, and why it's important to focus on their recovery. In the industry and in the rooms, as we say, in a 12-step program, don't make major decisions for your first year, right? Focus on your recovery, and the rewards will be greater down the road. And I'm a firm believer in that. I believe it's good to have that motivation to want to go back to work, but some are just not ready. They need to develop those skills again that they very well had, but they were dormant for so long. So we need to wake them up again, and that starts with developing a routine every day, getting up on time, making my bed, showering, shaving. They may look at us like, what are they trying to do to me, right? But down the road, they realize that these are things they forgot to do and forgot how to do them. So we've got it. It's like a newborn, taking a newborn and watching them learn to take those first steps and then leave. And it's like your child is leaving and going off into the real world. I just want to make sure my guys, when they're going in that real world, that toolbox that they have is full of the right tools, and they can go into that toolbox and feel safe and feel that they can handle the real world. A lot of them are afraid of what's out there because they don't know. Fear of the unknown is very common with addicts. And I guess what we do is we give them those tools to handle that fear and to be comfortable handling it. And again, structure, developing a program, a routine. When you do go home, going to meetings, calling your sponsor daily, coming back to the house and being there for the guys that are there now, that come after you, being part of a community. And once they get that sense of community living and they feel part of, the sky's the limit. I've seen these guys change their lives. It's incredible what they can do, what they really can do when they put their mind to it and their heart.
Yeah, I agree, Iggy. It's an honor almost to be part of it. Right?
It is an honor. It's an honor, and I look at it like paying a premium on my insurance plan. By helping them, I'm paying a premium on my insurance plan for my own recovery. Watching them grow helps me to stay keep growing myself. And we're there to help each other. And when they get that sense of, yeah, I'm okay. I have support. I'm not alone. If I need help, it's okay to ask for that help. If I don't know, it's okay to say I don't know. I guess we're an ego-deflating kind of place. And when that happens, the addict is ready to learn. They remain teachable. And that's what we do, is we give them the new tools they need to be successful, but they have to be teachable. They have to be wanting to learn, willing to learn, and try different things.
Yeah. So going back to sort of the structure of sober living facilities, I think it's more common to have facilities that are extremely structured and routined. I don't know if you agree, but just have kind of the I guess understanding of you wake up in the morning, everyone gets out of bed, and it's get out of the house, lock the doors, we'll see you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon sort of thing. I know we've tried that in the past, and because of the fact that it's such a recovery is such a client-centered experience, I think we are making those changes to say, listen, that's not going to work for everybody, and what can we still have in place so that they're still safe in the house, and again, staying engaged and motivated in the recovery. So to help those out there and bring awareness, look for sober livings houses that are similar to that, that still offer programming on some level.
Very important.
We offered 2 groups a day,
Yes,
and then mandatory meetings throughout the week. Reflections you mentioned first thing in the morning.
Well, to give you an idea of how the day goes, we do reflections, and we start the day with the reflection. At 10 o'clock, we have a group, depending what day. Let's take Mondays, it's on anger management, and then Wednesdays we'll do a relapse prevention, which are 2 important things that they need to address and learn coping skills towards those 2 areas. Anger being one of the culprits that brings us back out there. The anger needs to be paid attention to, and they need to have coping skills to deal with their anger, because a lot of them are very angry still, even coming out of treatment.
Yeah. But going back to that, just if I can for 1 sec, I mean, a lot of times when people are using, you were saying before, it's a way to numb them,
yeah.
right? So we're dealing most of the time with individuals who either because of when they started to use haven't learned at all how to recognize emotions, never mind regulate them.
Exactly.
Okay, first step recognition, second regulation. And as a result, some really dysfunctional habits have been formed where we feel any emotion, and people respond in aggressive, I guess, angry way, as opposed to saying, I'm feeling really frustrated.
And this is what we're teaching them, that it's okay to say what you're feeling.
So that recognition piece, I think, is starting, or at least continuing from treatment into sober living.
It's making awareness. You said the word perfectly. They're becoming aware of what they're feeling, and they're becoming one with their emotions, where they were numb for all those years, whatever the time was that they were in active addiction. I was told I was going to feel everything better. I was going to feel anger better. I was going to feel love better. Every emotion I had, I was going to feel better, and it was very true. And it became overwhelming because I didn't know how to handle it. But by going to programs, by going to different sessions, and learning these new coping skills and how to set boundaries, I was able to be successful. I was able to not get angry at life. I mean, I was able to put some skills that I developed in treatment and apply them into my life, where the situation was handled calmly, which before would have never happened.
Yeah.
It would have been an explosion. So I guess, that's what we're teaching them. We're teaching them how to handle life on life's terms.
Yeah, which is so fair. And that brings the conversation back to just mental health, which keeps coming up in every single podcast. It's okay to admit that you need help. It's okay to admit that, you may need some support, and that things are really stressful and overwhelming. And, all we want to do is kind of be there every step of the way, if possible, right? I guess the last point that I kind of want to bring up is that of just keeping things goal-oriented. I've spoken to a lot of doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists over the past couple of years. And when they inquire about our sober living facility, when I mention the word goal setting and goal oriented, that seems to really, perk their interest, because I think, again, the quickest way to empower someone is to show them they can do it.
Yeah.
Right? So our goal setting is really a strategy to say, hey, listen, guys, you can achieve this, on your own will. And once they're able to see that, they can get that reassurance that things are going to be okay. And that's a big part of it. I mean, we sit down once a week, right, Iggy? And we talk about behavioral, emotional, and cognitive goals for each of the clients and reassess, how's this client doing? Are they becoming complacent? Are they disengaging themselves? Is the anger increasing? How can we, again, stay client-centered, but establish some really achievable, not just the goal is to make $1 million and be sober for the rest of your life.
Right.
I mean, a little unrealistic, but how can we make SMART goals?
Right.
Achievable, timely, realistic, measurable goals
that is a huge part, setting those achievable goals, making them realistic, and showing them, the individual, that they can do it. By doing that, you're reinforcing their self-worth, their self-esteem gets rebuilt, and their confidence comes back. When they're able to see that they can do it, the goals become, the sky's the limit. We try to keep them focused on the achievable ones, simply starting with being grateful for where you're at, making a gratitude list.
Yeah.
And then in that gratitude list, a lot of them have their families. Well, let's make a goal, being part of your family now, because for so long we weren't part of our families. Make it a goal to be part of, like a simple picking up the phone and calling your loved one, hey, how you doing? Or going for a visit and go sober. And when they see the real you, watch how that makes them so happy, and what it does to the individual. It's hard to explain, but making those goals as simple as just picking up the phone and calling somebody and telling them or asking them how they're doing. A lot of them haven't been able to do that because of the guilt and shame they have. They're afraid to pick up the phone because they think they're going to get hung up on, or nobody's going to want to talk to them, which is far from the truth. So doing that simple, picking up the phone and calling mom and say, hi, mom, love you, how you doing? That's a huge goal. But we make it look very realistic, and they do it. And when they do it, you can just see the look on their face and the accomplishment that they were able to do it. And okay, what's next? What do you want me to do now? Right?
I love it.
Unfortunately, you get the ones that are complacent, and we work a little harder with them, and we make the goals, like I said, very achievable and simple. We don't want to give them, I want to make $1 million. Yeah, that's everybody's goal, right? Let's make it something that's for you. What's your goal? What do you want today? Where do you want to be in a week? Where do you want to be in a month? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Let's look at, where do you want to be today? Let's start the goals there. I want to stay sober for today. Okay, what are you going to need to do that? I'm going to need to reach out for help. I'm going to need to go to group. I'm going to need to go to a meeting. I'm going to need to hang around with other people in recovery. Those are all achievable goals. And when they see that they can do that every day, they're going to be successful. They just are. And when you can show them that they're capable of doing it on their own with no help from nobody else, and it's up to them, it gives them, it's a different drive. They want it. It's not somebody telling them they have to do it. So you make them pick their goals and just help them with the tools that they need to get to that goal. And when they achieve it, it's rewarding on everybody's end.
Yeah, the self-directed behavior.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good discussion. I so appreciate you coming in today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and talking about what it's like to live in sobriety, or take those next steps in recovery. As we said today, it needs to be a gradual process.
Yes.
It's part of the reason why we really believe in the reintegration, not just a plan of what we're going to do on day 30 when we finish treatment, but a slow, gradual reintegration back
World
to.
of difference.
Yeah, it's a bit. I feel as though it's a small change in the approach, but it's a big difference in the result.
Exactly.
So yeah, as you said, we love our guys next door and the clients here, and our main goal is just to be with them every step of the way, for each and every single one of them.
Yeah, and for just to put it out there, if you are looking for a treatment center, make sure that they have these programs in place.
Absolutely.
It's so important. Like everybody, like there's this saying, "I do great in treatment," right? But when I get out into the real world, it's real. So if there's more to the facilities program to help them with that part of recovery is very important. I wouldn't send my child to somewhere that didn't have that in place. When I was new in recovery, I didn't have these luxuries. Like me, it was treatment, go home, and start doing what you got to do. And that was a frightful. How can I put it? It was scary. It was scary, very scary. But today we have these facilities like the sober living that make a world of difference, and the success is a lot more evident than it was back when I got sober. So yeah, definitely important.
Thanks so much for that last
You're
note.
welcome.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
And we can't wait to see what everyone, thinks and get some feedback on this topic, because it's important to talk about, as we can see more and more people are struggling and need this support. So to everyone out there, we hope you have a great day, and thanks for tuning in to the Artful Wellness series. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.